Are the Yankees closing in on their third baseman for next season? That and more ahead here at the Upside. And welcome into the MLB Hot Stove Daily here at the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys joining us late on a Thursday evening. Hopefully, y'all had a great New Year's and are getting back to work, enjoying kind of the MLB Hot Stove season like we all are here. Some news has actually happened today, not anything huge, but it is starting to set the table for a very rapid pace of signings over the next couple of weeks. Remember, pitchers and catchers report for in about a month and change. Spring training about 2 months away right now. We are very close to getting back to baseball season. 75% of free agents have yet to go to a team yet. So we're over halfway through with the offseason, and there's still plenty of guys that are going to sign. Expect a flurry of activity over the next couple of weeks. We'll start with the New York Yankees. I know quite a few of you guys are curious where they're going to be going with their third baseman. Well, we start with where the highest potential was possibly going to be, with Alex Bregman. Well, that option is completely off the table. They did kick the option around at the beginning of the offseason. They kicked it around again after they brought in Goldschmidt, their most recent addition to this team. But they just don't have the money to make it work. And as good as an impact bat as he would be for the Yankees team, there's just no way they were going to get it to work, so he's off the board. The next best option is Nolan Arenado. I still think this one is on the table for them, but outside of them moving on from Marcus Stroman, getting somebody to bite down on the entirety of that contract and getting the Cardinals to eat a significant portion of his salary, I don't think that one happens either. So who could they possibly be closing in on as their third baseman? Well, there is one player who also was posted by the KBO that has less than 32 hours now to sign with the team. That news coming from MLB Trade Rumors, updating you guys on where the posting window is at for him. So we will get a decision on where he will be playing next season relatively quickly. The Yankees are one of 6 or 7 teams that have been mentioned as a potential fit, but the Yankees specifically were mentioned a couple of days ago by John Heyman as a fit as well. Now, there's very few rumors around Kim as far as a specific team that's necessarily reached out or very strong on him, and we really have no idea where he's going to go. But the Yankees are one team that has at least kicked the tires on that type of or on that player anyway right now, and we'll see if they get that one done. For me, I think it'd be an improvement over what they currently have, going with a young guy and maybe a Jose Iglesias type of player at third base going into next season. I think Kim would be a step above that. And I think they've done well with international free agents in the past. A glove-first player would be a great addition to this team because they need that defensive versatility. Kim would bring that. And with their ground ball pitching that they're going to have, with Max Fried now being in there, having a very good defensive infield is going to be paramount for that organization. So we'll see if they bring in Kim. As far as my expectation is if they don't get Kim, I think they're going to go really cheap there at third base. So to answer your question there, John, what's the news on the Yankees? Is that they're one of the finalists, or at least one of the teams that is expected to be a finalist for Kim, coming over from the KBO. Welcome in, Holly. Welcome in, John, Doc, Mark, Lucas. Appreciate you guys joining us once again. Doc, appreciate you. Morning Upside. Well, I know you're you're joining us from Europe, so I know it is early for you. It's a very long day for me, so morning was a long time ago for me. But alrighty, let's get into some of the other news that actually did happen today. We saw a trade today between the Texas Rangers and the Milwaukee Brewers. Remember, the Rangers had to clear some roster space to bring on Jock Peterson. They designated Grant Anderson for assignment. They now have got a trade. They're going to send him to the Milwaukee Brewers. I imagine he's going to break big league camp with them as one of their 6th, 7th inning options out of that bullpen. In exchange, the Rangers got a minor league guy, Mason Medina, who was not in baseball trade values chart as far as how much value he really has. Honestly, it's a DFA type of a trade here, so I'm not expecting this to be any world-beating type of a move. I think it's just clearing a guy off of the 40-man and then bringing somebody back of at least some value for you in the future. So we'll see, where this trade ultimately works out. I think it's better for the Brewers, obviously, because they get a player to obviously go into their bullpen this season. Rangers at least get something for nothing, essentially, because they would have lost him for nothing had he gone through waivers. Alrighty, Tato, what's up, dude? Appreciate you joining us. Graham, welcome in. We have a glove first player, Peraza. You do still have him there. I just think they could use another player that's, I would think, a little bit better with the bat. I just think the contact rate for Kim will play in New York. They need more players like Kim that are more of a contact rate, less about power type of a player, and I think he'd be a good addition to that mix there. Am I saying he's the best addition at third base? No. Am I saying he's the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th best option at third base? Probably not either. But when you look at the financial situation for the Yankees, I think that's where they're ultimately going to be looking is in the bargain bin for a third baseman, and he would fit kind of that mold for what they're looking for, at least from a financial perspective. Are the Yankees still on Sasaki? Yes, they are. Nobody's really been ruled out anyway. Nobody that has at least been announced as teams that are out from Joel Wolfe, among others. Joel Wolfe, the agent for Roki Sasaki, about a few days ago anyway, stated that 20 teams had reached out about his free agent, Roki Sasaki, and at least made their pitch. Sasaki then met with several of those teams and kind of is narrowing down that list to teams he would like to go visit their facilities and see where he wants to pitch. He will not sign until January 15th when he can maximize his value and make between $5.1 and $7.5 million. But again, when you're talking about a guy giving up $200 million, he ain't exactly worried about $2 million as far as a difference in your bonus pool structure. But he's going to go wherever he thinks he has the best chance to be the greatest pitcher he possibly can be. Yankees, maybe that's the team. Mets could be that team. Cubs, Padres, Giants, Mariners, Rangers, and then the favorite, of course, is still the Los Angeles Dodgers. But we did see another move today. The Chicago White Sox have made an addition to their Major League roster, bringing in Josh Rojas. Remember, he was a part of the trade. What was the trade? Paul Sewald, I believe, was the trade from to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Rojas was the main part of that trade going back to the Mariners in that one. Obviously, he had a great start to the year last year, was hitting around 300 in April and May, and then fell off the face of a cliff. Over the last 4.5 months of the season, he hit around 208. Over the last 2 months of the season, he hit 184. His offense just absolutely cratered. He was a very good option in the first half, but they're hoping to kind of get a little bit more production out of him with the Chicago White Sox. And if they're able to, maybe they could have something to build on or trade him at the deadline and see what they could possibly get. In a White Sox situation, anytime you can flip a guy for future assets, that's exactly what you're hoping for because they're still in the midst of a very deep rebuild right now. Where do you hear about Kim? I've heard quite a few different things from John Heyman from a couple of days ago. That was the most recent Yankees information. MLB Trade Rumors was just kind of gathering information as far as Kim and his posting was has his posting window ends in 32 hours, and they were just listing a list of teams that would be a fit for a glove first player. But we really haven't heard any specific teams as far as negotiating with him or specific interest in teams as far as where he wants to go or anything like that. So it's a pure mystery how much he'll sign for, where he'll sign, or even if he if he even comes over this year as well. It's on MLB Trade Rumors. Yes, Tom, welcome in. How is this good for baseball when it's the same teams on the top available guys every year? That's a problem for MLB. All right, I'm going to dispel this notion for you a little bit, Tom. I don't want to pour too much cold water on it because I think I get your overriding point is that the big markets generally get the best players. I get that. But in general, baseball's done a really good job as far as parity in the league. They've done a really good job getting teams to not tank quite as bad as they used to. They've done a nice job improving that, shaking up their lottery a little bit, making it more of a weighted lottery system, and then not allowing teams to kind of draft back-to-back years in the top four. Really like what they've done there. But I get your overriding sentiment that the major markets are generally the teams that are going to be there. Now, here's the little bit of cold water. It's not just, the Yankees and Dodgers and Mets every single year for the top free agents out there. Rangers went out there and got Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, among other guys. You look at the Houston Astros. They bring in the top first baseman on this market in Christian Walker, the top first baseman in my opinion anyway. I think Alonso's going to sign for more money, but the better player, offense and defense, the power that he's going to be bringing, I really like Christian Walker this year. Pete Alonso's more of a one-trick pony. You're going to have an even better option next year on the free agent market in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Dodgers, of course, went out there and spent, and they have every right to do so. That's the perk of being a big market team and having the financial flexibility to do so. But then you look at a team like the Boston Red Sox, who has the money to go out there and add things in free agency, and they just haven't. They're still in there for Bregman, quote unquote. But it seems like there's been some cold water poured on that one because of Devers. But as far as big markets, constantly getting the big guys, it's because they have the financial flexibility to be able to afford them. You look at the teams that try to go big in free agency that are not in those big situations or in those big markets. Look at the Colorado Rockies, case in point here. They sign Nolan Arenado, say, hey, we're going to build around you. They ultimately say, hey, Nolan, what are you talking about? We gave you all our money. Why are you looking at us? We gave you every cent we possibly could. Now we don't have any money to go out there and add to the rest of the team. Nolan says, that's not what I signed up for, and he asks for a trade. He goes to St. Louis. They save as much money as they possibly can. However, they're still having to eat some of that Nolan Arenado contract to this day. Then they go out there and say, hey, we need a replacement for Nolan Arenado. They go out there and add all of that salary back onto their payroll by bringing in Chris Bryant, and everybody wonders, well, why can't they add more pieces? Because they don't have the financial flexibility to do so. And that's kind of how things are stuck right now as far as those smaller market teams. You have to go about developing your team first from the inside and then supplementing your roster with key pieces here and there. If you're going to spend big in free agency, you better be darn sure he's the final finishing piece, because if he sucks up every last drop of finances that you have, you're not going to continue to be able to add payroll after that. You're going to end up being in a situation like what we just described with the Colorado Rockies, or the way the Rangers were when they had to trade away Alex Rodriguez, or the Marlins when they had to trade away Giancarlo Stanton, and the list goes on and on and on. Not saying that big markets are the only teams that can sign big-time free agents out there. I'm just saying it's much easier for them to be able to absorb a bad contract, whereas these small market teams, one bad one, and you're going straight into a lottery. You're going straight into a rebuild, because that's how bad the impact is from one horrifically bad contract. Look at the way the Baltimore Orioles really had that successful run with Buck Showalter, Adam Jones, Manny Machado. They give that big contract to Chris Davis, and what happens? Machado ends up getting moved, and then their entire team ultimately goes all the way down the tubes. Adam Jones ends up going overseas to finish his career. That just completely imploded their team because of that one contract. Now, there were other factors, but you see how big contracts can really shake things up. Alrighty, welcome in Paul, welcome in Hirsch. Appreciate you joining us once again. I would love Bregman in Boston. Honestly, I would as well. I just think that John Heyman was absolutely spot on when he mentioned Devers saying, "Hey, I ain't moving off of first base or moving off of third base." And with that being the case, are you really willing to put Bregman at second base with already a massive payroll number in Trevor Story there at second this year? In my mind, I think they're going to go a different direction. I wouldn't be surprised if that number just gets too big for them to commit that type of money at a second base spot. Now, if they could somehow, offload Yoshida's deal and Casas, bring in Castillo, that was one of the rumors we saw, convince Devers to move over to first base, then I'll revisit the conversation. But as it stands right now, I don't think they're necessarily going to be one of the finalists. John Heyman specifies that the Tigers are the team that it sounds like he wants to go to. They aren't necessarily there financially, so they're still working through the numbers. The Blue Jays are there financially already, but he doesn't necessarily want to go there. The dark horse in that race, though, as we mentioned yesterday, was the Chicago Cubs. That was a little bit of a surprise from John Heyman yesterday, where the Cubs are saying they're all in for 2025. Well, the one all-in move that they've made is the trade for Kyle Tucker. Then they turn around and trade, Cody Bellinger, mainly to save off of some, payroll flexibility. The trade for Jesus Luzardo falls through because of medicals on Luzardo's part. Obvious what the issues really were there. He wasn't fully recovered from what he had last year. Phillies were more comfortable, and ultimately, I don't like the trade for either side the way the Phillies got that one done. But as far as Bregman, I would guess we're going to see him go to Detroit, but maybe, just maybe, the Cubs, saying they're quote-unquote all-in, decide to spend that money from Cody Bellinger's contract on Alex Bregman, and then just go cheap as far as a number 5 option and for a closer. Those are the two options they're going to add to their roster with that money they saved on Bellinger if they don't bring in a guy like Bregman. Alrighty, Lucas, MLB's parity is the same as European football. I don't really follow European football too much, my friend. Where is Sasaki signing? I'd still say the favorite is the Dodgers. I don't think that's really changed, but I would say it's a little bit more even footing for the rest of the teams around the league. You look at the, probably 8 other teams that are right there, for probably split up the percentage, say 30% chance he goes somewhere other than the Dodgers, 35% chance, split that up evenly among the other teams there, and, you might be a little bit more accurate for where things are going right now. I don't think Sasaki's really picked a team where he's, leaning towards one way or the other. I think he wants to go to these facilities and really learn what's going to be, the best for him once he makes those visits to the stadiums. So I still think we're a ways away. Again, the process was post, gets all the offers from other teams, their pitches. Then he meets with those teams in LA or in New York. He's gone back to Japan right now. And once he just, whittles that down to 5 or 6 teams, he wants to go and actually visit the facility, talk again with the front office, talk again with the manager and the pitching staff, talk with the pitching coach, just get a feel for the city. I think that's the next phase after the current one they're in right now. And then, of course, he will sign between the 15th and 23rd. All right, John, where do you think Kim will sign? If I had to guess right now, just because the only rumor we really have has been a connection to the Yankees, and because I think it will be financially beneficial to the Yankees to get a low-cost option there, possibly some control, maybe a 3-year deal at a salary that they can really use. And then, of course, they can flex him around wherever they need to in that infield because he is a versatile defender. But I would say the Yankees only because we haven't heard any other specific team mentioned and linked to him. I'm sure there are several others out there that have reached out, but we haven't heard anything in the media as far as other teams. So the only team we can really guess is the New York Yankees. All right, he has to sign by 4 Central tomorrow. That is correct. That was the article anyway from MLB Trade Rumors. He had 32 hours. I can't remember when that was posted, but it was earlier today anyway. Tom, thanks for the answer. I would like to see a salary floor because a lot of issues I have are the owners making money and not reinvesting back in the payroll. There is a little bit of that already. Look at the revenue sharing. That's why the Sacramento A's anyway have added their payroll, bringing in Luis Severino, bringing in Jeffrey Springs. Yet they still have to add probably another $15 to $18 million to that payroll to avoid having a grievance filed against them. Looking at the Rays are in this very similar situation. Same with the Marlins here. But some owners just don't necessarily have the financial resources that these other owners do. They still are trying to operate a business. And while, yes, it is fun for us, we are fanatics of our favorite teams. Fan is short for fanatics. We want them to continue to reinvest in that team. We want them to have, continue to try to push to win. Ultimately, it is sports, but it is also a business. You have to be able to understand both sides of the game. It's the business of baseball. It's the sport of baseball. And you just have to be willing to take the good with the bad as far as that's concerned. Now, we'll never have a salary cap, and I don't think we'll ever have a salary floor, but I think there will be incentives enough to convince teams to spend at a decent level. For instance, the revenue sharing, if you're not above a certain percentage above the revenue sharing threshold, to be eligible for the revenue sharing, you're subject to a grievance where it might take away that revenue sharing from that team. That's what we're seeing with the Marlins, Rays, and A's this offseason. Hirsch, I think the Yankees get him right there with you. What does 4 CT mean? That means 4 Central. Welcome in, Becker. Welcome in. See if I can catch up with a few of these comments here. Is Sasaki to the Yankees possible? I believe it is. Honestly, I think they're probably one of the 8 quote-unquote teams that I would consider a favorite for him. The overwhelming favorite would still be the Dodgers compared to the others, though. But I don't think by any means it's a done deal. I think Santander goes to Toronto. Owen, welcome in. Welcome in. Appreciate you joining us once again. As far as Santander goes, there are 2 finalists, it sounds like, 2 heavy favorites for him. One being the Los Angeles Angels. You know my thoughts about that. I'm telling you guys, if they get him, I am going to go off on the Los Angeles Angels. Just put a pin in it. I'm really hoping they don't do it, but with the owner there and with John Heyman's sources in that organization, I believe John Heyman when he says Artie Moreno wants to make a big splash this offseason. And then today we get an article that, hey, they're discussing the possibility of going after Pete Alonso. I don't like seeing dumb decisions being made by front offices in baseball. I'm not an Angels fan, just to be very clear. I am a Texas Rangers fan. But I like seeing good baseball decisions being made by all front offices. I watch pretty much as many baseball games as I possibly can during the regular season, so when I get onto the show late at night anyway, I can be informed when I'm talking to you guys about why this team is performing so well or so poorly. And so when I see teams doing really smart things, hey, that goes in the memory bank. I'd really like to see smart baseball being played than not. And so the Angels have really been testing my patience for the last, 4 years now. The way they ended the whole Shohei Ohtani debacle, just absolute, criminal malpractice anyway, practiced by the ownership and front office of the Los Angeles Angels. I thought they were a little bit on the right track, bringing in Ron Washington. Love that he's getting another chance to be a manager. They had a good first year as far as developing some of their younger guys. They're still a long way away from being a competitive team. But I get that Artie Moreno wants to make a big splash. I get the reasons why he wants to do it. He's tired of being a laughingstock out there with the Dodgers. But come on, man. I mean, your prospect pool, while better from where it was a year ago, is nowhere near the level of being ready to compete right now. And I get that, you're seeing the kind of the parity on the American League side. Hey, if we can just get so far, maybe we can jump in there in the postseason. Let's slow that down first. Let's look at what the Angels really had before all this ultimately got to where we are now. They had Mike Trout in his prime while he was still healthy and able to compete. They had Shohei Ohtani in his prime, healthy and able to compete at the very beginning of his tenure there with the Angels. And yet with 2 of the top 5 players in the entire sport, you can't crack a wild card in the entirety that he was there. Then you lose him for next to nothing in free agency to the crosstown rival LA Dodgers. And you can't tell me you didn't know he was leaving when the maintenance staff already had his banners down inside of an hour after he signed with the LA Dodgers. You're telling me a team that's revolved around Pete Alonso, 50 to 80 games a season of Mike Trout, maybe Anthony Santander, the ghost of Anthony Rendon, the addition of Kikuchi is better than Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout in their prime, and the additions that they made around the roster at that time? Now, granted, that roster still had plenty of holes in it, but you're saying having those guys as the aircraft carriers versus Trout and Ohtani when healthy at their peak, and you're telling me that this new team is going to be better? Just come on, what are we doing? We're kidding ourselves here. So I'm telling you guys, this is very tepid for where my reaction's going to be if they make a move like that. And honestly, I'm expecting it at this point, and I'm ready for it. I'll put it that way. Lucas, we need an NBA style first and second apron in MLB. You can still pay money, but there are consequences. We do kind of have that already there, Lucas. The quote unquote Cohen tax, the repeater penalties really do function as that kind of a buffer. The only guy that's really ever been able to push those boundaries is Steve Cohen. You're seeing the rest of the market really have to deal with that. For instance, the Dodgers are doing so by doing the deferrals. That will be addressed in the next collective bargaining agreement. But right now, they're using the tools that they have at their disposal to work around the tax issues that they would have if they had all these contracts, with no deferrals. Whereas the Mets, they don't have to worry about that. They just can spend and spend and spend. And Cohen's just like, I'll just sign a check, and then in 3 days I'll make up whatever I lose, in the via taxes on those contracts. And when you have that kind of money, I guess it's okay for you to do that. Whereas the New York Yankees don't have those same deep pockets and are also limited by that Cohen tax. So you already have that first and second apron in the MLB. Now, as far as the NBA, they have the first and second apron there. It's starting to function pretty well. I'm curious to see how much more punitive they get as they go along. But right now, it's working really well for basketball. I like the limitations it really puts on teams into that second apron. Major League Baseball does something very similar as far as bonus pool money, draft picks, compensation, all those types of things as well, in addition to taxes on top of those deals. Yankees will get him Becker. If you believe Soto to Yankees, it is. I don't know about that. All right, let's see if I can catch up to some of these comments here anyway. Cowboys, welcome in. Jordan, appreciate you joining us once again. D-Rod, Nando, appreciate you guys all joining us once again. Totally unrelated, but Austin Matthews is going to make me... I mean, he's a great player, I will put it that way. I haven't caught too many Maple Leafs games lately anyway, but I saw the Stars were playing tonight anyway. They really need to get off the schneid. Mavericks are going to have to weather the storm without Luka, so I've been focusing a lot on MLB hot stove rather than the other sports right now. I'm pretty much avoiding football right now because it's hard to watch, honestly. I just don't enjoy the product that they're putting on the field anymore as much as I used to. And, the best players in the game aren't necessarily the best players anymore. It's kind of a changing of the guard. You still have Mahomes. He's still great, but he's not played like Mahomes. They're still a great team. I expect them to get pretty much to the Super Bowl at this point. I still like the Bills. I still like the Ravens, but can you trust them against Mahomes in Kansas City? All right, let's catch up with some of these other comments here. Streaming is going to change a lot going forward, too. I agree. The Rangers are the only team without an announced plan for where their games are going to go. And the way that the market is shifting as far as local networks, I think it's going to revolutionize the way the game is brought to us. You look this offseason, the way that some of these local regional sports networks kind of dried up over the last couple of years. And you look at teams like the Dallas Stars, who started their own network anyway, Victory Plus. They're involved with another hockey team, the Anaheim Ducks. They also have Dude Perfect on the Victory Plus app, and it's free. You get, of course, your ads are on there, of course, but streaming is going to be a very different thing going forward, and I think we're going to get it in all kinds of different ways. I think Amazon's going to be a big player in that. I think Netflix is going to have a say as well. I think ESPN Plus is going to have a say in there. There's going to be a lot of different changes coming because of the streaming options, changing the finances for Major League Baseball. D-Rod, Michael, how are you, pal? Good evening, everyone. Doing pretty great. Had a long day at work, but who doesn't, unfortunately? Cowboys, Masson deal with the Nats screws the Orioles. Yeah, they've always had a bad relationship there as far as the TV contract there with the Nats and O's. I would like to see that one resolved and just allow the teams to be able to broadcast their teams to pretty much whoever would like to watch it. For instance, MLB.TV, you can watch every out-of-market game. I would like to see it to where you can see every game, period. Who cares about the market anymore? Market size when it comes to streaming and video and local area networks and that kind of thing doesn't matter as much as it used to, say, 50 years ago when you were using cable providers, satellite TV providers. Now you're using streaming. Internet is literally global. So why are we worried about regional sports networks and limiting it to access to certain areas of the globe? I would like to see MLB.TV, for instance, utilize that platform and just broadcast local games as well. Maybe put a premium on that content, however they want to do it. Say, hey, we'll give you the entirety of Major League Baseball, but we know you really want the Rangers, so we'll give you the Rangers for an extra $5 as your local, as your local team, an extra $10 or whatever the number would be to make it work on MLB.TV. Something like that would get things rolling to solve issues like Masson has with the Nats and O's. Alrighty, D-Rod, the business of baseball is a different animal to the sport of baseball. Absolutely agree there. Nando, we need Santander to the Angels so Michael can roast them again. I'm telling you, it is going to be biblical. Oh boy, I'm kind of waiting for it. Honestly, I know they're going to do it. I know they're going to do one of Santander or Alonso at this point. It's just the way the Angels do things, and I really don't like dumb decisions. I really don't like dumb decisions. Like, even in my own personal life, you see somebody making smart decisions in their life. Even though you may not necessarily agree with those decisions, you at least understand the thought process going into it. You see somebody doing something less than smart, and it just frustrates me at least to no end when they're making decisions that are not working in their best benefit. For instance, choosing to write in a pen on something that you clearly aren't even ready for. You don't know how to spell the word, so why are you not looking it up first before you write it wrong in pen and then scratching it out? Really small thing there, but looking at it when you relate it to baseball, baseball, you want to make smart business decisions. You want to build your team the best you possibly can. Put your resources on your winning team rather than the team that's going to lose, 100 games next year. That's when you should be pushing your chips to the middle. The Angels, by spending the money now on a Santander or Alonso, completely short-circuit the entirety of this rebuild process and set their organization back decades. That's the type of move we're seeing here if they go after Santander or Alonso. And honestly, I'm expecting it to happen at this point, and I'm going to go all in on lambasting that organization if they make that move. I get the reasons why they would do it. Hey, he's better than what they've got. Hey, they're trying to improve. Hey, they're trying to win more games. Don't you just want to try to win and not tank? Well, yeah, but there's a way to still be able to do that and make your team better for the long run as well. You can walk and chew gum. You can have your cake and eat it too. It's not rocket science, people. Don't spend $20 million on a number 4 starter to be your ace for 3 years. Don't spend, $120, $110 million on an outfielder who's great right now as far as a 4, 5, 6 hitter, probably be the 3rd best offensive weapon on a championship team, but for you, because Mike Trout isn't available, you're counting on him being your number 3 hitter and carrying you to a wild card spot when Shohei Ohtani couldn't do so at his peak with the Angels. And you're saying Santander is going to do it? All right, that's enough Angels talk there. Let's check in on a few of these other comments. Are the Yankees looking at Luis Arraez? I believe they are. I think there are a lot of teams that are at least kicking the tires on that possibility. When you have such a good player, a high contact rate player, the offense really comes easily there. The question is, does he fit defensively? And I think the Yankees are trying to put a premium on infield defense. I don't think they'll make a move for Luis Arraez, but I think there is a trade out there somewhere for the Padres to make with Luis Arraez as well. Holly, I hope he does so we can see Michael cook the Angels. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Welcome in, Jace. Appreciate you joining us. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. Got about 75 of you guys with us right now. Would really appreciate it if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe. We've gained almost 515 subscribers, I believe, since the winter meetings. And we're continuing to grow. We're going to be live every single night, bringing you the latest from MLB's Hot Stove. During the regular season, we're going to keep on trucking as well. So all the latest rumors, news, what the predictions are for the rest of the offseason. What does your lineup look like after this edition? What does your lineup look like after they make this hypothetical trade? Submit your trade ideas to us. Tell us if this contract is good or bad. We're going to be here to kind of talk about all of those things. So make sure you guys join us and just look around at our chat. We have such a great community here. I'm really encouraged by how you guys react to the content and interact with each other. It's a lot of fun to be able to do this, and I just want to say thank you guys for all the support that you guys have given us, all the likes you guys send us, all the subscribers that we've gained, all the super chats that have been sent our way. I'm really thankful for every single one of those, so I just want to say thank you one more time. If you want to find us on X at UpsideSN and on Facebook, Upside Sports Network. But make sure you guys hit that subscribe and turn on your notifications so when we go live, you will be notified about it as well. All right, if I missed your comment here, I do apologize. Trying to catch up with a few of these here. Tony is going to Toronto or the Tigers, in your opinion. I don't think it's going to happen for the Tigers. I heard the Tigers being thrown out there by John Heyman if they miss on Bregman. While I think that would be a nice piece for them to add, they could use an outfielder, I suppose. But I think it's more about the need for a bat for the Tigers. I think the perfect piece for them is Alex Bregman. I would be surprised if they didn't find a way to get the money to work, because it does sound like he wants to go there. But as far as Toronto, I think Toronto's far more likely for Santander or the Angels. Welcome in, Jace. Appreciate you joining us. Paranormal, welcome in. Just hopped on. Any news of the Yankees? Yankees were kind of tying the, connecting the dots at least. He's Haesung Kim. I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name, but Kim, the player coming over from the KBO, the glove first player, more of a contact rate guy, not a lot of power, has been connected with the New York Yankees a couple of days ago. That from John Heyman. The posting window, though, is closing tomorrow. So we could see the Yankees add their third baseman as soon as tomorrow or somewhere else. We don't really know what teams are really in on him, because the only team that's been definitively linked to him is the New York Yankees. But there are like 7 or 8 teams that could use a player like this. That coming from MLB trade rumors. But, the market on him is just so quiet right now. We don't really have any clue outside of the Yankees that have registered legitimate interest as well. Cohen is like the 5th richest sports owner, or 5th richest sports owner. It's insane. Absolutely. He has crazy money that he can just, afford to do the craziest tax rates ever in professional sports history and just keep trucking. He's a hedge fund manager, essentially, I believe. Patrick Kane is printing money. Yeah. NFL fell off. Not for the, mass media out there. They really, thrive on NFL content. I don't really do NFL content too often. Not lately, anyway. I do a lot of baseball content for the most part. I do try to do some basketball content as we get started towards the NBA trade deadline. We'll probably pick that up here this month and kind of build up to the trade deadline. We'll do some NHL coverage of their trade deadline as well, and then of course into free agency. But primarily we focus on MLB so far at the moment. Ravens, Eagles, your Super Bowl pick. Mine, because I'm a Vikings fan, I'm picking the Vikings. And then on the AFC side, I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes until he's literally proved to be wrong. The team has gotten a lot healthier. They found an answer, at least temporarily, at left tackle. I think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, as much as everybody would like to see them lose, as much as some people have issues with Taylor Swift or whatnot. I don't, but some fans do, and we'll see what happens. I just think Patrick Mahomes has played very poorly this year, and yet they've only lost 1 game. That's what good teams do, is find a way to win when they're not playing well. But the one thing they do better than any other team is in crunch time, they don't make mistakes. That's what the Patriots did under Tom Brady. That's what they're doing in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. Mark, welcome back. Appreciate you joining us right now. 4 for 80. Too expensive for Santander because Elias doesn't want to spend. But Kyle Hart from the KBO, more interesting so he can continue his AAA roster building. Oh, I like that one, Mark. 4 for 80. I think, Santander was looking for a 5-year deal pretty much this entire offseason. That's why he said, hey, we'd love to have you back, Santander, but we're going to go a little bit cheaper. We're going to bring in, I forgot his name just off the top of my head, Tyler O'Neill on a 3-year deal around $50 million. That was a lot better for their budget and allowed them to make other moves in free agency. As far as bringing in Sugano, thought process was by saving on Santander, maybe they would find enough money to be able to bring back Corbin Burns. That obviously didn't happen, and they're going to have to go the trade route, it sounds like. They have been connected with Jack Flaherty over the last few days. I don't buy that happening, honestly, at this point, because of how poorly it worked out the first time, but I wouldn't put a 0% chance on it. I'd say Flaherty more likely goes to a team like the Cubs, the Blue Jays, the Braves, teams like that, rather than the Orioles. I think the Orioles get their ace via trade either during the season or before the season, but we'll see. Let's see here. As far as the Kyle Hart part of your comment there, I do think he's going to be a good option for somebody. I like your part there about them, say instead of bringing in an ace, they're stuck with Kyle Hart. That'd be just the thing Elias does. Honestly, that's not far off from what he has been doing. But I think he probably goes to a team like the White Sox, like on an Eric Fetty type of a contract, 2 for 15, and shows he can prove it at the major league level, and just see what he can do in a no pressure situation. All right, trying to catch up with a few of these comments here. Agreed, especially if you're paying $150 for a subscription to MLB TV. Nothing like a blackout to Peacock. Well, I mean, streaming apps are going to have their own rights. You sell certain games to certain properties around to different streaming apps, and I don't think we'll ever get one that has all the different sports on one app. We got very close with that, but Fubo put a nail in that one. I forget what was the name of it. Was it Venue Sports? Was that the one that was going to be the conglomeration of Hulu, ESPN, Fox, and everybody basically pooling everything into one big sports app? And then Fubo's like, wah, that's our market. You can't do that. That's collusion. You can't go ahead. No. Please. They were still going to get their money. Each network wasn't profiting at, and raising the prices on themselves. It was going to be their, a separate entity, just like Fubo is its own separate entity that is still able to offer those types of offerings. So I get how, it didn't look good from an optics standpoint that these different media companies were coming together on one type of sports streaming app. To me, that's just cutting out the middleman. That would have lowered the cost of sports streaming to the consumer. And that's what, honestly, is what the government would really have been wanting to do from the beginning. But I get the optics of it just didn't look good, so they went with Fubo and said, yeah, I guess you're right. They shouldn't be able to come together like that when they're supposed to be in competition with each other. Creating a quote-unquote monopoly on sports. And I don't necessarily view it that way. I think there was still plenty of market share available for Fubo. They were not going to have all the other channels that Fubo was going to offer, but Fubo took advantage of this because they are really known as more of for their sports programming, and just said, hey, this is going to really kill our business model. And so they basically got that one kicked out of court, through court anyway. But I agree with your comment there. $150 for MLB.TV, maybe some type of a fee to allow local games to be on there as well, and just get rid of local broadcasting altogether and just have it all through Major League Baseball and cut out the middleman. I get it. You'd want to have more money coming from these these media entities, but why are we having a middleman there? Why not just pocket all that revenue yourself and just build the commercials all on your own? Have the Ford make their own commercial, sell or give you the commercial, and then pay you for the privilege of playing it during the game, or just like they do any other broadcast already. So I think we're going to see Major League Baseball's model really change as far as how they bring us local sports over the next 5-10 years. So I don't think we've seen the end of where this is going to go yet, but we're still a long ways away from it as well. Let's see here. Also, Bills Vikings Super Bowl. I would like that one, but my pick is Vikings and Chiefs. I would be rooting for the Vikings in that scenario. My dad's a huge Vikings fan, always has been, so he would like to see them win a Super Bowl in his lifetime. So that's the one I'm rooting for this year. Randy, welcome in. Appreciate you joining us. Has Tanner Scott come to his senses yet and moved off the 4 for $80 and accept the Dodgers 4 for $60? I think he's come off the 4 for $80 price point because I don't think anybody even was discussing that possibility with him. Now, the number might be a little bit more insane than that. Say they get it to a 5-year deal. That would be ridiculous for a reliever, but maybe if they want to stretch out the AAV, if the $80 million option is really what he wants to get this offseason. But I think we're going to see a 4 for $60, 4 for $55, somewhere in that type of a range contract for the LA Dodgers. Deferrals are going to be in there, backload, all of that kind of thing is going to happen as well. But my favorite for him is still the LA Dodgers. Yankees are the second place for me, and then it really goes to pretty much any of the other teams that might jump up there and surprise us. One team would be the Texas Rangers. I don't buy that really that much, but I think he ultimately ends up with the Dodgers. Cowboys, I don't care either, but I did lay money on Baltimore going to the Super Bowl. Baltimore is really good this year. I like their rushing attack. I just think the Chiefs are, they're inevitable at this point. As much as, I didn't really like Tom Brady when he was there with the Patriots. The one year I really liked him was the year they ultimately lost the Super Bowl. They were, the greatest offense, in sports history. With Randy Moss and that group, that team should have won that Super Bowl. Would have been the single greatest team I've ever seen take the field, and ultimately they fell short and didn't really root for him outside of that year. But That's where the Chiefs are kind of at right now with their hold over the entire NFL. So we'll see what happens. And I have money on the Vikings. I like that. They were shockingly good this year. Seems like the defense is struggling lately, but definitely have the team. The Vikings defense has been a little bit loose, I will say, the last couple of weeks, but they're still very solid. Flores is very good as far as mixing things up, doing things very unconventionally as well. See if I can catch up with a few of these comments here. Graham, is Boris Tanner Scott's agent? Honestly, I can't remember. Hank, thank you for that. Hit those likes. I do agree there. We got about 40 likes right now. Let's see if we can get that like number of over 50 here in the next 10 minutes or so. If you guys wouldn't mind helping us out and hitting that subscribe button as well. Cowboys Nation, I think so on Scott. Honestly, I would agree there. I think he might be the agent for him. Where does Ty France land? For instance, say Bregman does surprise us and go to the Cubs. Maybe we could see him go as a fill-in option, a platoon option at first base for the Chicago Cubs. I think that's a possibility. I think the Giants are a possibility if they miss on Alonso. I think any number of teams like that need a platoon option at first base. I think that's where France could go. For instance, say he wanted to go to Texas and really jump on the platoon options that are there in Texas already. You think the Rangers already are set at first base with their platoon? I think if a guy like Ty France comes in with a non-roster invitee with, say, a $2 million guarantee if he makes it to the big league club out of spring training, if he has a great spring, he could solidify himself onto that big league roster. I think the Rangers would absolutely love for something like that to happen with a non-roster invitee. I think they'll invite somebody in like a Ty France, a Joey Gallo type player, somebody on a minor league deal, gets a spring training invite and might be given a chance to make the big club if he has a big time spring. So as far as where specifically, if I had to put my money on it right now, I would say the Cubs, just to kind of help fill out their first base needs as well. Hank, I'm ready for opening day. Honestly, I'm looking forward to it as well, but I really enjoyed the offseason. We're still got, 75% of free agents left on the board? That's my bread and butter. I love free agency in all sports, not just baseball, but basketball, football, and the NHL as well. One of my favorite times of year is always the first day that players can actually sign with other clubs. For instance, NHL does a great job getting everybody to pretty much sign on 1 or 2 days. NBA, you pretty much get the announcement, or you get all the talking window where you can talk to players, when not sign a contract, and then you finally get to sign them and get a whole bunch of deals, right after the first minute, happens in free agency. The NFL, a lot of guys sign within the first 5 days of free agency. MLB is the only one that really spaces it out and makes it a key talking point the entire offseason. You continue to try to build your roster. They do it differently than other sports. I'm not saying they do it better or worse. I'm just saying that they do it differently, and I had not necessarily against it either. I kind of like that we're still talking about where Bregman's going to go, even though, honestly, some of these drag on a little too long, like Jordan Montgomery last year, like Blake Snell as well. Long live Stream East. Okay. JS, welcome in. Which team is likely fit if the Rangers do trade Leote? He's one of my favorite Rangers, and I hate to see him go, but he's running out of opportunities on the Rangers roster as it stands. Thank you for the comment. Appreciate you joining us. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. Trying to get our likes up to over 50 here over the next 10 minutes. So if you guys wouldn't mind helping us out, and hit that subscribe button as well. So let's go ahead and answer your question there first. Where do I see a likely fit for Leote Tavares? One team that I've heard mentioned over the last couple of days anyway is the New York Mets. I don't necessarily see that as a great fit, at least right now. I think they've already made their addition. Jose Siri is there. I think the only way that would happen is if Marte moves and they just really like the bat of Leote, just the possibility of what he could bring. Another fit would be a team like the Chicago Cubs, looking for low-cost additions to help out their offense. Leote would be that type of a player. Now, his offense has been very mercurial, up and down. He can't really count on it. And I think that would be a low-cost budget option for them to help out in Chicago. Wouldn't necessarily be an all-in move to me, but it would be one bat to help them out. I think they have some really good offensive pieces in their outfield already. I don't necessarily see the need for it, but I have heard Leote's name as a fit there as well. I don't necessarily see a great fit, one team that just jumps off the page more than the rest outside of those teams, but there are several teams that could use a defensive-minded fourth outfielder. The Rangers would really like a defensive-minded, right-handed hitting fourth outfielder. Leote being a switch hitter still kind of loosely fits that description. He's been working out exclusively this offseason in Dallas with their hitting coaches, and one would have to think they're making some headway on his swing. He's been a great talent defensively. His speed really does play. But you're hoping Evan Carter legitimately takes hold of that position in spring training, and Tavares starts the season as your fourth outfielder. That's the way things the Rangers are hoping will work out. But as it stands right now, I think if the Rangers found a way to save on his contract and use that money to bring in some late inning relief options and really add, say, Kirby Yates, a guy like Chris Martin as well, and maybe even be able to bring back David Robertson, I think they would love to do something like that if they could get off Leote's money. But then they still have to bring back somebody in that fourth outfielder spot, a right-handed hitter, contact hitter, somebody who's great defensively with some speed as well. But as far as one of your favorite Rangers, honestly, I was there too. I have a really good rookie card of his, 1/1 gold, and I just thought he would have a better offensive career, and so I heavily invested in his baseball cards, and I'm going to have a lot of egg on my face unless he's able to turn it around. I think trading him is probably his best move forward as a player in Major League Baseball. King Sam Darnold dropped 500 yards and 7 TDs in the Super Bowl. I don't know about that, but I would love to see the Vikings really win it this year. Do the Vikings trade McCarthy? Great question, Don. Appreciate that comment. Honestly, I think they're hoping to bring back Sam Darnold. If they're able to get that done, then they move Jake McCarthy, not before. I think McCarthy's got really good talent, but missing your entire rookie season due to injury, not a great way to start your career. And then being traded 1 year into your first year, 1 year into your career, also not a good option as well. So, are they going to get first round talent or a first round pick back in return? I doubt it. I think you might be able to convince somebody to give up a round 2 pick, and you give them a round 4 pick, and just make it work that way. But I think they got found money anyway with Sam Darnold, and are hoping to continue to have that success. If I were the Vikings, I honestly would still hold on to both of them. I don't care how good Sam Darnold was this year. I want him to prove it one more year before I trade away McCarthy. I want to rehab McCarthy, show that he's developed, show that he's healthy, maybe even show he's really worth that first round pick and be able to recoup that pick. Not because, hey, we're just trying to offload this guy and have no competition on the roster and show Sam Darnold he's our guy and take away all of their options. But that's when I would make the move. But I do think they'll really try to look to move him to make Sam Darnold as comfortable as possible to remain that Viking starter. If Boris is Scott's agent, it could be a while until he signs. Boris will milk every cent he can and doesn't seem to bother if it messes up the player. I don't necessarily think that's the reason why he makes it wait so long, as just every cent, just at the expense of the player. The player still can agree to the contract at any time. He is hiring the agent after all. Boris works for the player. So the player has to sign off on that happening for him to go ahead and do that. For instance, Jordan Montgomery could have signed a deal with the Texas Rangers for a lot less last year. Obviously, he wanted more money, and he found it with the Diamondbacks, but he had to wait until he was able to get that deal. Same thing for Blake Snell. But I get your point there, how Boris really does kind of draw things out for a few free agents every single year. This year, I think, was the exception to the rule. He got a lot of guys signed even before the winter meetings, and then got a lot more done at the winter meetings. He's been really good. He had so many guys of his own that he had to be able to get signed, and he might take 1 or 2 of those guys until late January. But I don't think he's going to have to worry about taking them all the way through the entirety of spring training, like he pretty much had to do last year with Montgomery and Snell. But I do think Scott will still do very well. I think 4 for 60 is very likely for him. Holly, MVP Sports Group is Tanner Scott's agent. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate that. It might not be so long. I like that. Right, that's the same outfit that represented A-Rod, Pujols, Tatis, Machado. Honestly, I think so. But I don't really follow too much as far as agents are concerned. For me, agents are really valuable in the NBA, where teams build relationships with an owner and really do great as far as having a lot of guys from one agent come to that team. Bill Duffy, for instance, with the Dallas Mavericks for years, they'd get a really good working relationship. In baseball, though, the only agent with team relationship that has worked really well is the Nationals with Scott Boras. And I think we're going to see that again next year when he's going to have several top-end free agents with the Nationals ready to spend. I think they're going to get a really good haul next offseason because they have a really good relationship with Scott Boras and understanding how to get a deal done with the agent. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. Let's head over to X and just see if anything is happening at the moment. Remember, the only moves that we've really seen, one signing, Josh Rojas goes to the White Sox, a trade, from the Rangers, sending Grant Anderson to the Brewers in exchange for Mason Medina. Doesn't look like anything too major today. Jeff Hoffman, I haven't mentioned this one yet. Jeff Hoffman is looking for money comparable to what Clay Holmes got. He wants to be a starting pitcher, and I think he's going to be able to find a spot somewhere in Major League Baseball that will give him that opportunity once again. As for where, maybe the Cubs could be that team. I think they are still looking for a number 5 option. I think it'd be cheaper than bringing in an Andrew Heaney type pitcher. But you might get a little bit more success out of a Jeff Hoffman if he continues to show the success that he had in the first half of last year with the Phillies out of their bullpen. But we'll see where he goes. That's one of the other headlines that happened today. Corbin Burns, of course, there. There's the Brewers edition in Grant Anderson. Oberg was hired as a pitching coordinator. And nothing else really there. Okay, let's head over to MLB trade rumors. Deferrals of $60 million on the Burns deal. The deferrals again in vogue there. I think early opt-outs are increasingly becoming an issue. I'm sure that will be discussed as part of the CBA. They are the only ones that seem to like Boras. All the others, I'd say, cringe. Wallace muttering, I would agree there. I think the Nationals don't mind necessarily paying the piper on some of those top-flight free agents. I think the only one that really didn't work out well for them was the Strasburg deal and the Patrick Corbin deal. Outside of that, I think the rest of the deals that they've had have ultimately worked out for them. But ban Boras from baseball, never going to happen. He's the top agent in the game. Players love what he's able to do to represent them. Remember, the players are the guys that are hiring Scott Boras to do the job. If you don't like the job or the way Scott Boras handles his business, then you got to tell the players, hey, we don't like the way your agent is representing you, and see if you'll go a different direction. But since when does a player listen to a fan when it comes to his own money? Would you listen to a fan about your salary at work? Would you listen to a fan about your ability to negotiate your own deal with your own employer? Just some things you want to keep in mind there. Alrighty. We're going to go ahead and head out for the night. Thank you guys for joining us tonight, and really do appreciate you guys hitting that like and subscribe. We've gained quite a few subscribers over the last month. Thank you guys for all the super chats and support you guys have given us. And we'll be live again tomorrow night around 9 o'clock. Thank you guys. Happy New Year. Be safe out there, everybody.